My dear friends, let me tell you a story tonight that will hold your heart, make you wonder about life, and remind you that love has a power greater than money, pride, and even family. This story is about a man named Andrews and a woman named Charity, and how fate brought them together in a way no one could have predicted. It is a story filled with twists, betrayals, secrets, and finally, the kind of love that lasts forever. Stay with me until the very end, because what happens will surprise you in ways you cannot imagine. And while you listen, please remember to subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. Your support helps me bring you more stories like this, and I promise, you will not regret staying with me till the end of this tale. It all began one rainy evening in the city. The streets were wet, the sky was heavy with clouds, and people hurried to find shelter from the downpour. Andrews, a wealthy man known for his sharp mind and confident walk, was driving home from a meeting. His family owned many businesses, and his mother always reminded him that he was not just any man. He was heir to a fortune. Yet despite his wealth, Andrews often felt empty. He had money, he had respect, and he even had a fiancée named Mavis, who was beautiful and admired by many. But something inside him told him that his life was missing something deeper, something true. On that rainy night, as he drove past a deserted street, his headlights caught sight of a young woman. She was sitting on the steps of an old shop, her clothes wet, her hair clinging to her face. She looked tired, broken, and afraid. Something in Andrews's heart told him not to keep driving. He pulled over, stepped out of his car, and walked toward her. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. The woman looked up, and in her eyes was both fear and pride. "I'm fine," she whispered, though clearly she was not. Andrews could see she was pregnant. Her hands clutched her belly, as if to protect the little life growing inside. She looked like someone who had been abandoned, someone who had nowhere to go. "What's your name?" he asked. "Charity," she replied softly. That name struck him. Charity. A name that carried kindness, hope, and love. And yet, here she was, sitting in the cold night, with no one to care for her. Andrews felt something move inside his chest. He did not know why, but he knew he could not leave her there. He offered to take her somewhere safe. At first she refused. She did not trust him. To her, he looked like a rich man who might take advantage of her weakness. But Andrews insisted, his voice calm and kind. At last, she agreed. And so, he drove her to his home. Now, this was no ordinary home. Andrews lived in a large estate with tall gates, shining floors, and a mother who believed she was queen of the world. When Charity stepped into that house, she felt small and out of place. She held her belly tightly, afraid of what awaited her. But Andrews told her not to worry. "You are safe here," he said. What Andrews did not know, however, was that bringing Charity home would spark a firestorm. His mother, Madame Gloria, was a woman of power and control. She had already chosen Mavis, a polished and ambitious woman, as the perfect wife for her son. And she had no patience for strangers, especially a poor girl who was carrying another man's child. When Madame Gloria saw Charity, her eyes narrowed. "Who is this?" she demanded. Andrews explained, but his mother cut him off. "A pregnant woman with no husband? In my house? Do you realize what people will say? Do you realize what Mavis will think?" But Andrews stood firm. "She needs help, and I will not turn her away." This was the beginning of a storm that would rage for months. Charity tried to keep to herself. She cooked, she cleaned, she did her best to stay invisible. But Madame Gloria made life difficult for her. Every day, cruel words were thrown her way. "You are nothing. You are a burden. You should thank the heavens my son is even allowing you to stay." And yet, through all the insults, Andrews treated her with kindness. He would sit with her at dinner, ask how she was feeling, and even buy things for the baby. Charity could not understand why this rich man cared so much for her. And then there was Mavis, Andrews's fiancée. Beautiful, ambitious, and clever, but also manipulative. When she discovered Charity's presence in Andrews's house, she burned with jealousy. She told herself that Andrews was only helping out of pity, but deep inside, she feared losing him. One evening, Mavis confronted Andrews. "It's either me or her," she said sharply. "You cannot marry me while you are housing some street woman and her bastard child." Andrews tried to explain, but Mavis refused to listen. Her pride was too great. She went to Madame Gloria, and together they plotted to drive Charity out of the house. But fate had other plans. As time passed, Andrews found himself drawn more and more to Charity, not just out of pity, but out of admiration. She was gentle, respectful, and despite all the pain she had endured, she still carried herself with quiet dignity. She never raised her voice, never answered insults with insults. There was a strength in her silence, a purity in her eyes. Andrews began to wonder, who was this woman, really? Why did she seem different from what she appeared to be? Then came the first twist. One afternoon, Andrews received a letter addressed to Charity. He almost didn't give it to her, but curiosity won. When Charity read it, her hands trembled. She quickly folded it and hid it. "What is it?" Andrews asked. "Nothing," she said quickly. But Andrews knew it was not nothing. Days later, he learned the truth. Charity was not poor at all. She came from a wealthy family, far richer than even his own. She had run away from home after a misunderstanding, and her parents had been searching for her. Andrews was shocked. This woman he thought was helpless was in fact an heiress. But what shocked him even more was what followed. Another secret came out. The child Charity was carrying was not another man's child. It was his. Yes, Andrew's child. You see, before all of this, before the rainy night, Andrews and Charity had met once at a charity event. They had shared a moment, a brief but powerful connection. But life pulled them apart. Andrews never knew that night had led to this pregnancy. And Charity, believing Andrews had forgotten her, chose to face it alone. When Andrews discovered the truth, his heart turned completely. He knew then that Charity was not just someone he had rescued. She was the woman meant for him, the mother of his child, the love he had been searching for. But this truth also meant war. Madame Gloria and Mavis were furious. Mavis shouted, "You will throw away everything for her? For a woman who tricked you?" But Andrews did not care. He broke off his engagement with Mavis. "I would rather live in truth with Charity," he said, "than in lies with you." Mavis left in tears, but deep inside, she knew she had lost him long ago. Madame Gloria tried everything to separate them, but in the end, even she had to accept that her son's happiness mattered more than her pride. And so, Andrews and Charity married. Their wedding was not just a union of two hearts, but also the beginning of a family built on love, trust, and forgiveness. Months later, Charity gave birth to a beautiful child. Andrews held the baby in his arms, tears in his eyes, and whispered, "I will never let you or your mother suffer again." But this story does not end with Mavis fading away. No, life had another twist for her. Though she had lost Andrews, she was given another chance at life, a chance to find her own path, her own love, and to realize that manipulating others only leads to emptiness. My friends, this story teaches us something powerful. It tells us that love is not about money, not about appearances, and not about what people say. It is about kindness, patience, and the courage to stand by someone when the world turns against them. So the next time you see someone in need, remember Andrews and Charity. Remember that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever. And if you have stayed with me till the end of this long tale, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please subscribe to this channel for more stories like this. Leave a comment to share your thoughts, and let us keep the spirit of storytelling alive together. Because, my friends, as long as we share these stories, we keep hope alive.